And in this position, Sina played a move which even Carlsen didn't expect because he goes for knight to d5. Imagine playing this type of move against the world champion. And don't forget, he's just 15. And the idea behind this move is, let's suppose if black decides to capture the knight by e takes d5, e takes d5, and you can see white is now successful in opening the e file for where this rook can anytime enter. And since this knight is attacked, so let's suppose if this knight goes on b4, now comes rook to e1 check. And either black defends with the bishop or with the knight. In both the cases, let's suppose if he defends with knight to e7, now comes d6. And clearly you can see in the next move white is going to recover his piece. And also just take a look at black pieces. They can't even move, and of course they are feeling suffocated, and clearly you can see white will be better. Okay, so in the actual game, after knight to d5, obviously Carlsen is not going to get into these traps, so that's why he ignores the knight and just focuses on development. He goes for d6, and now you can see this sacrifice is not going to work, because if now after takes, takes, and now if white gives a check, black can easily guard this with a bishop. So that's why Sina just retreats his bishop back to e3. Okay, so now bishop to c2. Here white is preparing to push d4. Knight at g goes to e7, keeping an eye over d5 and f5 square. And finally white breaks with and since this knight is attacked, so Carlsen decides to bring it on d4, and guys, that's an inaccuracy. Instead, knight to b4 might be the better option so that he can attack this strong led square bishop, because after knight takes d4, e takes d4, now comes knight to f1. And now just take a look at this isolated pawn on d4. It's really bad for black. Whereas white gets these strong central pawns, connected by, which is obviously connected and supported by these amazing bishop pair, and you can see white will be better. But in the actual game, after knight to d4, here he goes for b3. He basically wants to develop this dark square bishop, but that's a mistake, because black is now just going to exchange this good bishop with his bad knight. But guys, what if white is actually feeling pressure from this knight? Even though he exchanged his bishop, which is even more powerful, but somewhere it must have given him some relief and also boosted his confidence, because in chess that kind of thing obviously does help. And after that, queen takes c2, and now Carlsen goes for f5. He just started he started pushing, and he's now ready to hunt the white king side. Okay, so now rook at a goes to c1. He simply wants to place this rook on c7. So basically after this takes you can see. So to stop this, rook to a7. And as you can see, now white is threatening this fork, so that's why f4. And you can see here both sides are countering each other, and since this knight is attacked, so that's why. Okay, so now knight to f3 by Sina, and as you can see, both players are maneuvering. And now for black, it's better to go for d5. The idea is to go for rook to c6 so that he can attack the queen. And let's suppose if white decides to slice the queen, then d4. And in the next move, he's going to bring this knight on c6, and suddenly you can see black is taking more space. But in the actual game, after knight to f3, here Carlsen goes for g5 there, and you can see that's a slight inaccuracy, because by pushing the pawn, white weakens the g6 square, and now you can see this queen is just eyeing the king. Okay, so rook to d2. And basically he wants to double the rook so that he can create more pressure on this pawn. So how can black tackle this situation? Here the best move for black is to go for queen to e8. The idea is after white doubles the rook, queen to g6, and you can see black is now successful in defending the d6 pawn. Okay, so in the actual game, after rook to d2, here Carlsen goes for knight to g6. He clearly wants to push h5 and then g4 so that he can just push. Okay, so rook at c goes to d1. Here Sina simply goes according to his plan, but Carlsen goes for h5. He's also going according to his plan, queen to c6. And guys, that's a good move, because this not only puts pressure on d6, it also keeps an eye on the rook. And now what he is threatening is to capture on g6 by knight takes g6 so that he can deflect the queen and capture the rook on d7. So to stop this, Carlsen simply brings his king further. Okay, so now I have a question for you. From which piece you are going to recapture the rook? And guys, this is important. I mean, let's suppose if white decides to, recapture with the queen. Now, after queen takes d6, queen takes d6, now comes g4, attacking the knight. And if h takes g4, h takes g4. And now just take a look at these amazing, or we can say this solid pawn structure. And after this, knight goes on to h2, king to g5. Although this position is still equal, but just take a look at the black pieces. I mean, they are just aligned perfectly, and by all of this you can see this position will be slight in favor of black. So that's why after rook takes d6, here white decides to recapture with the bishop. And here for black, it's better to just go for king to h7 so that he can get away from this range of queen. But instead he goes for the move queen to f6. He basically tries to unpin the knight, and that's a mistake. But why I am saying this, because firstly we have to understand what's the main motive behind the move queen to f6. And here let's suppose if white decides to capture on a6 by queen takes a6. Now comes g4, attacking the knight. If takes, takes, attacking the knight again. And if knight goes to d2, now comes g3, attacking this pawn structure. Takes, and clearly you can see what's coming next. So that's why here the best move for white is to go for queen to d7. The idea is to stop the move g4, and also just take a look at the white queen. I mean, it gets completely into black territory. And in this position, the final move by Sina is knight to d4, and here Magnus Carlsen resigned. Because let's suppose if this game continues like knight to d5, and guys, just take a look at this position carefully. Here, Sina creates a beautiful mating net, and the move knight to f5 will be a checkmate. Now just take a look at this beautiful mate. That's really amazing. Imagine playing like this against the world champion. And the impressive thing about this game is, first of all, there was no draw agreement. And secondly, the game was short. As we all know, Carlsen is very good at blitz, and he often beat, Nakamura, who is a legend at in blitz chess and probably the highest rated player on chess.com in blitz. And this 15-year-old boy destroyed Carlsen in this brutal endgame, which shows that his future is in chess is, really bright. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it, and I will see you in the next one. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.